This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and today I have a special podcast from the Leighton Public Relations. And my guest today, even though his name is Robert Schindler, I understand we all know you as Robeone, correct?
That is correct.
So, Robert, welcome to New Cleveland Radio. And tell me a little bit about how you got into the music industry and where you are today.
Oh, wow. I got involved with music, very, very young, obviously. I grew up in the New York area, going to Broadway shows. My father was a big music enthusiast of big band and jazz and Broadway. And my great uncle was Abner Silver. And he was a very, very famous songwriter back in the day. He wrote one of his biggest hits was a song called "With These Hands" that was recorded by the Temptations and Tom Jones, and I mean, on and on and on. He wrote songs recorded by Al Jolson, Frank Sinatra. He wrote songs in GI Blues for Elvis Presley. So he actually, as a wedding gift, my parents gave us our piano. So I started, as soon as I could crawl up and reach the keys, kind of a thing, started playing piano, took lessons as a kid. And as time went on, started playing in, high school bands,
Right.
covering rock songs and playing, playing for the, for the dances and things like that. And then, as getting older, it's, 17, 18 years old, started, getting groups that were doing, original music, trying to get signed, record deals, so on and so forth. And I finally got up with a band that was actually from Virginia Beach area, but they were living in Columbia, South Carolina. That's where their manager was, and he was taking care of them there. And we wound up, it's a group called Basin, getting signed by Bearsville Records. And the story continues. I can go on for
Right.
hours here.
Well, and there's lots of information on your website, and we're going to make sure we put that link in the show notes. It's interesting that when I interview someone like yourself, and then I listen to your music beforehand, it's like, why didn't I know about Robeone before Leighton put you in front of me? And I think the real reason is that so many individuals like yourself, as you are building your music, you are performing in basically the areas that you either live in or where you're being managed. And sometimes you don't filter all the way across the United States. And that's okay, because that's what our show is trying to do, is filter out this music to people who maybe wouldn't have heard it previously. So you started out as a teenager of rock bands, and believe me, I have a number of friends who were in rock bands, and they never made it past high school. So those that did, that is terrific. So tell me a little bit about the music that you like to write.
Well, first of all, I'm an instrumentalist. So, I've recorded with a lot of people. I'm still recording for other people, adding keyboard tracks to their music. So I've been influenced by everything from my early, as I said before, going to Broadway shows. I saw Davy Jones and Oliver. I saw Barbra Streisand and Funny Girl. And jazz. And then, of course, growing up, I got into, rock music, and I was listening to, Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple and all, Three Dog Night, all the rock music that was out there. And then it got more into, I guess, what we called progressive rock, which was, the Moody Blues and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and Yes, and Genesis and Caravan, and those kind of bands that were more, I guess, music oriented. They would, the songs could be, a half hour long. That was common. There was a lot of, classical influences and jazz influences, depending on where the band, if they were from, like the United States, like Kansas, or, or the Emerson, like a Palmer from England, that had more classical influences. So And that's sort of, different keyboard players, growing up listening to, obviously, all the great jazz players from, Chick Corea and Keith Jarrett and Oscar Peterson and, Jimmy Smith on Hammond organ, and all these people, I, graduated into, the rock people that were doing it, the Keith Emerson, John Lord and Rick Wakeman, and now, Jordan Rudess and Rachel Flowers and things like that. So that influenced, if you listen to my records, they're sort of all over the place as far as, it's not just one genre,
Right.
There's some rocky things, there's some easygoing, more, new age, type, classical oriented things. I mean, I did one album that's just acoustic piano. So it's
Yep.
from all those things, and you listen to my records, you can hear, all those different styles.
Absolutely. And of course, we will put some links in the show notes so people can go out and listen to you like I was doing this morning. I find it interesting because my brother is a music producer, and my youngest son loves to write songs. However, he's not an instrumentalist at all. So his ideas, his lyric ideas come from things that he knows, experienced, or has seen somebody else experience. When it comes to, the sound behind the words, he has a great knack of saying to his uncle, I want it to sound a little bit like this, but twist it to sound more like that. And so he's taking a little bit of all of his influences and putting them together to get the melody that he wants. And to me, that is the most interesting thing, because, if I were writing music, first of all, my lyrics would probably be terrible. I'd be rhyming moon and spoon, but I'm not good at picking out all those different sounds to figure out how it would go together. So you said that you took piano lessons, but did you have any other training along the way to know what it was going to really be like to be a musician?
Well, I mean, in college, I was a speech and theater major and minored in music. So, I mean, I went through all the theory and I mean, as far as what I thought life would be as a musician, I mean, I spent 15 years on the road. My second band that got signed was a group called The States. Back in the 80s, we were the opening act for Hall & Oates on their Ecstatic tour. I mean, we opened up for a lot of groups. So I just sort of fell into it. I don't think there was any thinking about it when you're young and you get into music. You just, you have these dreams,
Right.
of, rock stardom, as, everybody wanted to be. So,
Well, absolutely. And from what I understand, those early days, 70s and 80s, traveling around was not as glamorous as most of us thought it was, or would have expected it to be. And so when people can survive that time and continue with their music like you have, I think is wonderful. So tell me a little bit about today. Are you still out there performing with your band? Are you doing more writing? What's the situation with your music?
well, I don't have a band. It's just
Okay.
me. So everything on my records is all keyboards. So I do everything. The majority of my music, I think, is using real instrument sounds, instead of, just a lot of electronic sounds. But I've recently been getting into a little bit more of the electronic sounds, mixed in a little bit more. But my music, I don't perform. I perform out like twice a year. I perform up in New Jersey for Prague Stock, which happens beginning of every October. I've been doing that for like 5 or 6 years now, which is great. And then I've performed last year at Rozzfest in Florida. So it's like I do like 1 or 2 major concerts a year. I don't play locally at all out. I basically have a regular job and And I said, me and my wife foster dogs. So I've got, as I said, 6 dogs in my house right now. So between my job and I'm still working full time at my age, and I'm recording, for
Sure.
multiple other people sending me tracks. And right now it's sort of like a relief. Haven't started working on my next record yet. I'm trying to promote, obviously, this new one. So my brain's not, ready to go to the next venture
Sure.
yet. So
What
that's
is
sort of what's going on now.
Yeah. So tell us about the new song that's coming out that we're promoting.
Well, I'm promoting the whole record, actually. I mean, I'll let anybody decide what their favorite song is on it. I said, supporting the Bob Moog Foundation has been a big thing for me for several years now. I sort of met Michelle Mokosa, who is Bob Moog's daughter, on a progressive rock cruise called Cruise to the Edge. She was on there. They were raffling off a mini Moog and supporting the foundation. They had a booth, on the ship. And I was wearing a t-shirt by a great keyboard player, a friend of mine, Eric Norlander, and who's friends with her. And then we started talking. And, when I came back, I live in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. An artist, Stephen Wilson, was going to be playing in Asheville, I was driving up there to see. And the now Moogseum, which has, been open for several years now, was being built. And there was just a little front area there that Michelle was sitting in, and I walked in and Bob Moog's piano was there, and I got to play it. So that was really cool. And I started talking to her about prog stock, and I got her involved with prog stock. And she said, well, we'd love to do that. We can sell our merchandise there and make some money for the foundation. And said, but it's like, very expensive, to get all our stuff up there. And I said, well, I'll bring it up for you. So basically what I've done every year is I've driven from Charlotte to Asheville, picked up all their stuff with my keyboards, and then driven up to New Jersey and reversed that back to help support them. And I just got more and more involved. And as I said, I've seen all the hard work that they have done. And if I can go into it a little bit here to tell people, basically, Bob, I guess, the main founder and creator of synthesizer. We actually started building theremins before that, which is that strange instrument you control with waving your hand around these antennas. But he inspired really the whole industry, and it's hard to find a record or recording or anything out there that doesn't have a Moog synthesizer on it. And he inspired all these other companies and who have taken what he did and kept it going through the years. The foundation helps keep all the archives alive. They have the Bob Moog School, which they go in to second grade schools, and they bring theremins and hands-on things, and they teach the children about sound, about how sound is created, talk to them a little bit, about music, and about innovative, being an innovator, and thinking outside the box and things like that. And, this music has been cut so drastically in schools and things. So it's been a great program. And then they have the Moogseum, which is in Asheville, North Carolina, which is actually a few blocks away from actually the Moog factory. They're 2 different entities. They're not connected at all. But and then it's a great tour to go through there and see. It's not just Moog, but all the synthesizers that are represented there, and all the history. And you can actually work a Moog modular system. And it's a great place. So the foundation's been the main thing for me, is getting music and into the hands of kids. So
Absolutely. The sooner our young people, are involved in learning what the arts are all about. I mean, I remember as a young kid, I was thinking 3rd grade, we all had to be in the elementary school band, and my brothers before me played clarinet, and they played it decently for, elementary school kids. Along comes little sister, and first day I'm there, and I can't make a note on that on that clarinet. And all I could do is squeak and whatever. And we tried for about a week. And finally, the band instructor came over to me and he said, Karen, from now on, you're going to pretend you're playing the clarinet. And I was devastated. I said, but my brothers played. He said, yeah, we'll have to find you another instrument someday. So, you know, I think that was a shame. They should have found me an instrument that day, even if it was a tambourine or a triangle.
Yeah.
But going back to that, I remember sitting in band class and just enjoying the different sounds, even though most of us had no talent in that room. And for some reason, many of our schools aren't teaching the arts. And so kudos to the foundation for making this possible. So I understand the album is called Dream Suite. Is there something specific about the name that you can share?
Well, Dream Suite is the title, is, the title track, and it's a 20-minute, 9-second track that goes through different styles and different forms of music, and sort of, it's, to me, it was like, okay, you're going through these crazy dreams and you're going through different things and your dreams are changing, and that's sort of, where the name came from. It's like about this piece, and I want, you're going through all these different, thoughts and during your sleep, and it could be scary, it could be calm. Record is really also a tribute to my influences of, my favorite keyboard players through the years who influenced me in different styles and things like that. So it's nothing really.
Okay. So when is this coming out so we can all be aware and jump on board?
Well, I'm the streaming has been delayed. I'm signed to Transglobal Records, which is distributed through the Orchard Sony, and so I'm waiting to hear why the streaming hasn't started yet. But it will be on all streaming services under Robeone, which is, it will be out there right now. The record and download are available through. If you want to download, if there's a service called Bandcamp, and
Right.
if you go on Bandcamp.com and you search Bob Moog Foundation, my record comes right up and you can download it there. It's $10 and 100% goes to the foundation. Matter of fact, this Friday is Bandcamp Friday, where they waive their fees to the musicians, so 100% will all go to the Bob Moog Foundation. If you want to actually get the hard copy CD, you can either go to the moogseum.com website or the Bob Moog Foundation website, and then you just go to their shop and you go to music, and it's right there.
That is terrific.
Yeah.
Well, we want to thank you for joining us today and, giving us this background so that we can share it with our listeners. And, for those of you who may not have seen Robeone in the past on your checklist, well, add them to your checklist today. I just did. I put you on 2 of my streaming areas because it's like, I only had maybe 10 minutes this morning to start clicking on all the different music. And it's like, no, I need to play this when I'm walking on the treadmill and, get me through my exercise. So thank you so much.
Great.
And have a great day.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. You too. Take care.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.